Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining. My name is Jonathan. I'm the CEO of Applicaster. Our company helps broadcasters and format owners transform their business through mobile devices, through companion devices. And today I'd like to share some of our experience on mastering cross-media, how we boost ratings, and control eyeballs across devices, one of the biggest challenges we recognize in the new forming TV ecosystem. And I'd like to start with a question somebody else asked 2 years back. In 2010, Steve Jobs presented the world a question. We have a phone, and we have a laptop computer. Is there something in between these two devices that our world is missing? And I think just from looking around here, I see most of you have iPads and recognize the answer to this question is yes, definitely we're missing something. But I don't know that this was a realization all of us had at the onset when the product was introduced. And by the same token, I'd like to raise a question to all of you today and ask, is there something between the experience of watching TV at the comfort of your living room and a website or mobile application that deliver video? So again, is there something in between the linear TV experience sitting at the comfort of your living room and a website or mobile application that delivers video? And I'd like to suggest that the answer to this question is similarly yes. And in the course of the next 20 minutes or so, I'd like to take you through what we've been doing and how we see this become a reality. And yes. Until today, I think a lot of the discussion was about a 360 strategy, which means a strategy that says, let's take TV and propagate it through various devices so that we're on every screen at every time with our content. So we redistribute the content that's broadcast on TV through a website, through a mobile device, through a tablet PC, for pay, for advertising. And I'd like to say that in many ways, this model is broken. I'd like to raise a few points. Now, one side comment, I think a lot of the discussion over the next 2 days is going to be about second screen experience, about how eyeballs are drifting from one screen to another. There are a lot of statistics on that, and I'd be happy to share them with you after. But I made it a point not to tire you with these statistics, but actually talk about a different angle to things. And I think the first issue I see with 360 strategy is that it was brought to us by mobile operators. 5 years ago, most of the mobile strategy was founded on mobile operator portals that provided content owners with a fixed line of revenues, steady line of revenues on mobile devices. And this was the business that we all knew. But these revenues are fastly diminishing on mobile devices, especially smart devices, given the new app ecosystems. And then secondly, I think consumers have found very interesting and very prominent hubs to consume their media. Hulu, Netflix, iTunes, YouTubes. These are properties not owned by the broadcaster. These are new players in the market that play kind of side to side with our traditional business, but they disrupt it in many ways. All of these bodies are the ones controlling the business model. I think third is Facebook, which is a huge elephant in the room. I think everybody is trying to get it right. How do we use this huge, this giant knowledge base, this hub where people are spending 11 hours a day at times? What is the best utilization? And we've heard some of the companies here talk about taking your content, putting it on YouTube. Is that the right move? We're just feeding Facebook with more power, more time on site. But on the other hand, we realize the power of viral marketing, obviously. If we want our formats and content to propagate fast, if we want to cultivate a discussion, a good discussion, an interesting discussion between users, Facebook is definitely the right place. Maybe another thing to consider is that Facebook are going through an IPO soon, and they're going to have $100 billion. What Facebook will do with these $100 billion can change the world, like they have so far. So nobody knows if the play is going to build their own distribution for TV, if they're going to want to partner with TV channels same way as Google does. All we know is that right now, Facebook is building a lot of power. It's giving us a lot of value back, but we have to be minded to the fact that they're going to be a force that can change everything again with the new money that they're going to receive. And it's very exciting. think this is a very interesting point. The fourth point I want to raise is about cannibalization of revenues. Interestingly, or maybe obviously, viewing patterns on mobile devices follow the viewing patterns on TV. The peak of usage of mobile video is between 8 and 10 p.m. when it's prime time on TV on the main screen. And I don't know, I didn't take a toll of who's sitting here, but if we have broadcasters here, commercial broadcasters, you know that for every dollar you make on TV, you make about a cent on new media. So the money is still on traditional TV, or not still, the money is on traditional TV. And we want to find the right way to create one bottom line that's synergetic instead of take a lot of dollars on one side and make them a few pennies on the other. And then the fifth point, which will lead to the rest of the discussion today, is about context. So we were talking about 360 broadcasting. How do we broadcast content across all screens? But is that really what we want to do in today's reality? When I'm sitting in front of my TV screen, research shows is a major proportion of when I use my iPad or when I use my smartphone. Is the experience I'm expecting to watch the same content I'm watching on TV on the device? The answer is 100% no. When I'm out on the street, and I might not have really good internet connectivity, is the broadcaster's experience for me just streaming of the channel? Is that creating enough revenues? So we have to be minded in the post-PC era, as some call it, we have to be minded to the fact that consumers are shifting context, shifting location, and that solution that we raised in the beginning, 360 broadcasting, is no longer relevant for the current paradigm of consumption. And now I want to take a moment and talk about the opportunity here. I want to talk about ethics sitting around the table manners, if you will. So a lot of us know soup should be seen, not heard, obviously. When we sit with our elbows on the table, that's considered bad manners. I want to show you a situation that happens in my life every day. So we might be sitting at a restaurant, and then we get the mail. And what happens then? We lose touch. And I don't know, if you have a family dinner, you're sitting together, and then one of the members of the family gets an email or gets an SMS, and then they lower their eyes. And then the other one just follows suit, and then all of a sudden you lost all communications. And this happens to me when my friends come over to watch something on TV even, or if we're sitting out at a restaurant, we just lose contact all of a sudden. I don't think it's an original saying, but I still feel it because I don't know who to quote on this, that the opportunity for huge achievements is when something fundamental in human behavior changes. And I think, you know, when YouTube came out, I don't know that we realized that YouTube was only 5 years old. Something fundamental changed. And this is even bigger. I think that the way we behave in the physical context, not in the digital world, in our table manners, in our interactions with one another, has substantially changed. And this is where I think TV broadcast has a huge opportunity to make an impact and to penetrate because there's a crack. And this is the way economics work. When there is a crack, we have to fill it with something. And in this case, we can fill it with a new kind of business. This is where we can grab attention that's being dealt elsewhere. Now, I don't promote destroying the family dinner on a Friday night or a Saturday night, but I do think that it would be a waste for TV companies not to realize the attention deficit that's happening when people are watching their content. And this only says that we have to create highly stimulating content that fills this crack. So the essence of this is that content is the key for exploiting this opportunity. And so I said I won't talk about the statistics that you know, but I have to, just one slide before we move on, show what I think is evident to everybody. And we have here great companies in Innovation Alley. I want to recognize some of these companies that do an amazing job and we learn a lot from. So content is one of the major pillars, obviously just delivering the content. And I just heard a talk by Uyala, which is a great company, changing a lot of how the business is done. Second screen experiences that we all know, sorry, this is where I have the stat. 54% of iOS and Android data traffic is video. So I don't know if you all know this, but video is what these smart devices users want to watch. And then second screen experiences, I think Ex Machina, a company from the Netherlands, do unprecedented things. They change the way the world works. And 51% of the viewers use tablet and smartphone while watching TV. Maybe another thing that's interesting, that 86% of people watching TV that own a smartphone consume other media, not just emails, other media while watching TV. So this is really split attention, split revenue, split business. So if you had these viewers on TV and you thought they were driving some kind of value for you, you must understand that when advertisers pick up on this and rethink their ad spend, the attention is split half. So if you had 40% rating for your TV show, you have 20% attention. If you had 20%, you have 10% attention. And this is something the broadcaster must react to. And I think the broadcaster's best friend in this journey is the format company. And this is why MIP is such an exciting opportunity to talk to format owners, format developers, and TV broadcasters at once. Social TV is huge. I don't know, I heard Anthony Rose is here today, but ZBox is really gaining momentum. We have Into Now in the United States, obviously, GetGlue, Misu, other great companies that are creating this Nielsen stat that says 9% increase in social chatter are equivalent to 1% rating. And why I think this is such a substantial statistic is because it teaches broadcasters that this new media mumbo-jumbo is contributing to the traditional business in a way that's measurable in income. So we know what 1% rating is worth to us in dollars. So we also know what 9% increase in social chatter is worth to us in dollars. And my company tries to look at the intersection and tries to see kind of where can we drive that synergetic value that overarcs content, second screen, and social TV together with this ecosystem of wonderful companies that have emerged in the past, I think, 12 months to meet the challenge. I'm going to talk towards the end of this conversation about a case study, 2 case studies that we've actually delivered services for production of the Big Brother and the production of The Voice. And I think all of you should recognize these names, Big Brother and The Voice. And I wonder if any of you can think of what are the common denominators that make them sit so well in that point of intersection, like no other show, actually. I don't think any other show has been able to replicate the success of these formats in kind of hijacking that intersection. So that we don't have too many volunteers, I will give you the answer, at least in my opinion, and it might surprise you. I think that there is a very, very clear common denominator, and it's this man. This is John DeMol, those of you who don't know, and he understands it. He understands it very well. Both of these shows are his, came to the world under his direction. And he knows something very substantial that we don't know. I don't know. I don't know that any of you know what goes on inside his mind. And it lends, maybe if we saw the first comparison between iPad and what should come in between, I think in many ways it resembles the way this man has thought. We didn't always understand. We didn't know where this is going. But in the end, it was a huge success. And this is what I try to do at Applicaster. I try to look at what this man and other smart people are doing and understand what is so special, what is disruptive to the market, where are the points that this is succeeding and others are failing, and then build a platform out of that, build something that broadcasters can use and drive value of. And now these are the meaty slides, kind of, I promised to say something, to teach something about mastering cross-media. I don't know that I'm in position to teach, but I can share what I think I know, what I think I've extracted. And what I see in John DeMol's formats is the following. He sees the basic element as the broadcast. So we have show number 1, and following suit show number 2. So we have episode 1 this week, episode 2 the next week. In each of these episodes, we want to create a parallel experience that stimulates and retains the consumer while watching TV. So this is a big trend right now, watch with experiences. But this is not enough. These are just the foundations. Next, once the show is over, we want to find a way, an activity, a thought, an extension to the format in the Bible itself that will extend primetime longer, make it hold longer. So if you had a 90-minute show, how do we hold the largest amount of viewers for even more, maybe 30 minutes more, and drive more value out of that? And then following that, how do we ramp up rating towards the next show? So is there any preparatory work? Are there any ideas? Are there any activities that we can launch upon the users in preparation for the next show to make sure that the maximum number of potential viewers are watching the show at this given moment. And then if that's not enough, in between casts, how do we sustain interest with additional activities that are what we would call offline activities, activities that are maybe, I wouldn't say complementing to the show, but they're parallel to the show that allow the user to experience something of the experience. I think with the Big Brother, it's so natural. It's not a new format. So this was the 24-hour coverage of the house. But with The Voice, there are so many activities, digital activities that many companies are launching that allow the users to stay engaged with the content throughout the week. And I like to call this content craze. I think that if we are able to hyper-stimulate audience all day, all week, all contexts, all locations, they may not come into every one of these experiences, but they are going to be in a constant state of content craze. This will be the talk of the day. And maybe to kind of close this loop, I think there are activities that are done pre-season, and then when the show is over, again, we go into pre-season mode. So we're constantly prepping the consumers to continuously consume this content experience to make it an inherent part of their lifestyle. So this is one kind of paradigm that I think I've been able to extract and say, this is a generic model that if we're able to replicate on scripted, non-scripted show, live and non-live, this will do us good. And so when we come to build platforms for broadcasters, I understand the following things. I understand that the broadcaster wants to own the brand, own the users, own the data, and own the revenues. This goes back to what I talked about, Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, Facebook. These are all important venues. But the broadcaster's main business is owning users' eyeballs, revenues. This is what broadcasters do for a living. And this is something I think broadcasters still want to do and not always have I guess, the most direct path to do. They need to kind of come around it. Secondly, I don't know if you all know what the word SaaS is, but I'll just skip it. It's software as a service. It's from a tech convention. But the broadcaster needs a platform that's quick, simple, and inexpensive. I think ROI in our business has created the biggest, gap between, somebody said to me today, between Silicon Valley and Hollywood. I think that broadcasters that had failed expectations or that overspent on something are very careful with their money, especially in this economy. So the cloud computing revolution allows us to deliver a lot of value for broadcasters at no upfront investment. And that's something that's very important to allow our broadcasters to experiment, because I think a lot of us think from the technology side that broadcasters are not willing to experiment. It's not true. I think broadcasters are very innovative. I think broadcasters are forward-thinking and they want to innovate, but they just don't want to lose millions of dollars, definitely not in this economy, on the wrong hunch. So it's important to be able to deliver innovation at a good investment plan, a good ROI plan. I think the broadcaster needs to work with many third parties. So end-to-end list, like Ericsson liked to say, is a very bad strategy. I think we don't know how this market is going to shape. I think people are constantly innovating, bringing great experiences in, and this is driving how we build our platform as well, so that it's open and we can bring cutting-edge innovation from anyone. And also, I think that a lot of broadcasters are inclined to experiment and release a lot of apps, a portfolio of apps. But this is not what people have been doing on websites. They have been concentrating their efforts on one property. And I think second screen experiences today suffer from the fact that the application will only work for 1 hour a week, 12 weeks a year, or maybe 2 hours a week, 12 weeks a year, and then you have to remarket a whole new property. And that's very difficult. So I think that when we come to build companion apps, we need to build a strategic property that can change and metamorphose with every new experience that's brought to the table. I'm going to run through this slide very fast because we have little time, and I want to leave some time for questions and show you a case study. But the way we built the Applicaster platform is through 5 core services that we feel are what broadcaster needs essentially. One of them is content. So you want to deliver content. The lines represent that there are third parties. I'm not going to say anymore that you can integrate with anyone and everyone. We don't want to replace anybody. We just want to help manage this whole transition. So there's content. There's synchronized experiences that are watch-with experiences while a specific show is on air. identity, user identity, and deep integration with Facebook's Open Graph is super important. Broadcasters want to own information about their users. They want the content to become viral, to be propagated through Facebook. And they don't necessarily want a third party to deal with identity. They might want to own that entire technology infrastructure. So we have ways to integrate with broadcasters so that identity is something they own completely. Onset is a new family of products at Applicaster. We're trying to change what a TV program is. So we understand that we have a second screen experience that can send back information to the set of a news edition or to the set of a live show so that the anchor of the show has information in his hands and he can broadcast clips from the users, put users on video chat with the broadcaster, or with the TV show, or perhaps show some statistics that users are collecting. That would change what a Barbara Walters interview would look like if she had that access to that information in real time. So this is a new family of products we're really excited about. And 360 plus, I said before 360 isn't great, but I think there's a new type of 360. I'm assuming most of you flew in to this exposition. I don't know what you did on the plane. I definitely know you were not watching video streaming from the broadcaster or writing back emails because you were cut off from the world, because you had no internet, at least most of you. And so part of the paradigm that we see for these portable devices is that it needs to work even without an internet connectivity. It needs to work if I'm in the subway. It needs to work if I'm on the plane. Why? Because the broadcaster can drive profit out of it. Why? Because there is no competition on the user's attention. Most of the things that I'm used to do on my device are contingent on an internet connection. If we're able to crack that and give a great experience from the broadcaster while you have no internet connectivity, and we do this by various ways. I invite you to come over to our little demonstration, and I'd be happy to show you. But we allow users to consume content even when they have no internet connection. And our experience suggests that this drives both customer satisfaction and usage by at least 20%. Now, case study. I want to show you the application of that paradigm of John DeMol that I showed, or at least what I think his paradigm is, or what I understand his paradigm is, around The Voice. This is, for example, from The Voice of Israel. It's airing now. The finale is next week. And there was a very thick set of features and games that started by before the show even started, and then we allowed the consumers to do watch with experiences through partners. The blind auditions were something that the user actively participated in. This was sponsored. There were prizes. It created a content craze. I'm going to share some statistics on this. We had a lips activity, so people could sing along. You can experience that at the station, like sing with the contestant's voice. They took snapshots on that, put that on Instagram. That went viral. So there was a lot of activity. At the end of the day, broadcast ratings went up 10%, from 30% parallel spot to 40% with these watch with experiences and kind of whole end-to-end strategy. Moreover, 25% of the TV viewership were using these experiences. So this is not a niche market anymore. It's not long tail. This is core. What also happened, the competitor broadcaster, the competing broadcaster, was airing Big Brother in parallel, but not on the same days as The Voice. While The Voice was on, this is what happened. So we got a push notification from the Big Brother saying that something interesting is happening right now while The Voice was on. And this was also on our platform because we serve both of them. And then 6% of the rating was captured into the competing screen. So 6% of TV rating, this is a major figure. This is not a niche phenomena. And this, I think, is the best example how the arena, the duel, the battlefield, as you might call it, has just shifted from on-screen TV with the classic promotion tools into the new media environment where the broadcasters are competing on that ancillary attention. And that ancillary attention is becoming primary because people were sitting stationed in front of The Voice. We know this from rating data. They were watching The Voice on TV, but consuming the Big Brother on the device while watching. So this kind of demonstrates what can be done, what should be done to be an active player. Because if you do not disrupt as a broadcaster today, you are sure to be disrupted. Because if somebody else gets to this before you, you are going to be losing valuable rating. And this is why we feel TV is reinventing itself. And formats exist to empower broadcasters in this struggle over eyeballs, over ad money. This is why we go out and buy a new format. And so with this, I encourage format owners and broadcasters here to come talk to us and discuss how we can create this as a new reality for your format, for your broadcaster, and really take the game one level up. Because the penetration of these devices is no longer something to be neglected, and the utilization of these devices while watching your traditional TV makes this the business of the broadcast company, not the new media annex of it. And I've heard last MIP from some of the participants that I see here today, they shared with me that in their broadcaster, there is a change, a very good change, where they're understanding that new media should be integrated back into the broadcaster in certain instances, because the way these bodies have been built so separately have just prevented the fact that new media would be considered in the production stages, in the content development stages. And now with this change, with this organizational change that's happening in the broadcaster, we're actually able to influence how content is being built. It's being built to do exactly this, fight a very, a lot of oomph in this fight, and it's working amazingly. So with the Big Brother, well, this is not very responsive, but on the opening show of the Big Brother, we were able to extend prime time by an average of 16 minutes. What this means is that people were watching the show for 90 minutes on screen, and then on average, additional 16 minutes on the device. And this was worth a lot of ad spend. This was worth a lot of sponsored dollar. And it also helped compete against the next show that was on a competing channel. So we were able to kind of create an experience not only around a specific content brand, but an experience that heightens the broadcaster's performance overall, even in the next show or the previous show. And this is very important because not all shows are great for this. We can do something very cool for every show, but some shows are better than others. And I also encourage broadcasters here at MIP to go seek those format companies that are innovating, that understand something, that learn something from John Endemol, and don't try to reinvent the wheel, because he knows exactly what needs to be done. And every show that he creates is a success in this fashion. And just to wrap things up, I want to kind of close. Have 25 seconds left, so Q&A we'll have to do face-to-face. I'll be here after the talk. Just kind of a few words of advice from me to those who are sitting, and it's that you should be authoring new media rather than just redistributing the content. I think delivery should be robust and across devices, and realize this is a post-PC era. A lot of the broadcasters think internet and mobile are extension of one another. Mobile exists while you're watching TV, and PCs are not part of that environment. And this is what we need to recognize. And that your developments need to be fast-paced. I hear a lot from customers telling me, we need to get through 100 set of approvals, we want to see 500 different designs, we want to rethink this 900 times. If the investment is low, dare to experiment. Because if you wait too long, you will be disrupted. The change that I have seen from MIPCom in October to MIPCube, MIPTV in April is just phenomenal. And I can only imagine what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Social sourcing is key. If you do not participate in the social game, your content does not exist. However, if you take your content and just put it on Facebook, you might be, you might be making a good bet, but you might be also be just giving up the power of your media. Your media is valuable, and you need to protect it. And if you are getting advice to take all of your content, just post it on Facebook, post it on YouTube, it may not be the right advice. I'm saying may because there's a, I don't know if you're here, but there's a representative of Shopping TV channel here. I think Shopping TV is a great example for where Facebook is instrumental. We don't necessarily want our own media. We want more purchases. So you have to think about this very deeply case per case. And lastly, I know I've been saying this a lot, but just learn from John Endemol. He knows what he's doing. His formats are amazing. And we look at it the same way we look at Steve Jobs' products. We adopt them, we think about them, we learn from them, and we try to replicate the good things about them. And that's all the time I have, and I'd be happy to take questions on stage. Thank you for your time and attention.